Hi there, welcome to Transquantum Trailer Sales. Today we'll be walking you through your 2017 Thor Quantum WS31. We are just going to start off the back up top. That's where your observation camera is located. And then right down below, you do have 2-inch receiver as well as some 7-pin wiring. Just keep it in note, you got all your weight classifications over there that you will have to follow. And of course you do have your ladder so you can get all the way up to your roof so you can check all your seals periodically. Coming around to the driver's side of the unit. Inside this back area here, it's typically where you're going to have your 30 amp cord. Most campsites have this and you can plug right on in. Let's say you have the unit at home on your driveway, or your campsite only has 15 amp service. We do include that 15 amp park adapter, which is inside the starter kit here. Just keep it in mind whenever you are using that 15 amp park adapter, it's realistically just to run your fridge and your lights. You're not going to be able to run an air conditioner off of that. Whenever you do have this guy plugged in, you have a couple different options. You can run it the way we have it now with the compartment just open. But let's say you don't want critters getting inside there because you're parking it for a while. On the side here, move all this out of the way. You got this little door, trap door. You can loosen off the door, run your cord down, and then you have a less big hole open. And that's kind of what you'll probably primarily be wanting to do. If we come a little bit more forward here, you're gonna have a dumping station. Opening up that guy. Typically, you run your sewer hose down through this hole here. Again, another hole that you can just open that up and run your hose straight down. You got your black valve and your gray valve. You always want to empty your black valve first. It's gonna be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets. And then you can go behind that with your gray valve. It's typically a little cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. Also located, you got your Santa flush. That's just to sanitize that fresh tank. Exterior shower, that's just gonna open with your standard 751 key. The rest of these are just gonna be storage minus the last one, which is gonna be a service port for your generator. You got your furnace exhaust. Whenever your furnace is running, it's gonna be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. City water connection, so if you're out of sight with service, you just thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to pressurize all those lines without the need to run your water pump. And then you do have your hot water service port, taking that tab, twisting it. That'll allow you to open up that door. Whenever you first get to your campsite, you're going to want to give that pressure relief valve a pull. There should be that shot of water coming out of there, letting you know that the tank's full and safe to fire up. You get your 1-inch drain bolt right down there at the bottom in case you were draining it for the winter or you just don't want water going stale or stagnant. Again, just some more storage compartments. The last one's going to be a service port for your generator. And then around the front, you got your standard Ford chassis. Coming around to the passenger side. These two down below, these three down below are just going to all be storage. The last one here at the top, it's going to be where you keep your outside TV. This guy here, you're going to notice there's no locks on it. That is because it's going to be for your propane. Only thing you need to worry about inside here is just that valve counterclockwise like a standard barbecue, opening it up all the way nice and slowly. It's going to open up the flow of propane to the unit. This is also going to be your fill port for it, but you will have to go to an authorized dealer for that. Again, we're just going to have some more storage space all along here. And then last but not least, you do get your fill port for your freshwater tanks. So let's say you want to travel with some water with you, or you're out boondocking, camping, whatever. This is going to be how you fill that. You can either siphon or just put a garden hose in there, turn it on. The drain for that is just right here. Twisting that valve, you're going to start draining all the fresh water that's inside that tank. I currently have it empty, but I left that little bit in there just so we could show you that it does allow it to drain. Now for the best part, to get inside, you're just opening up that door. That'll allow you to take a step on inside right below this here. Flipping that guy off and open. That's going to be where all your house batteries are located. Put that guy back up, tighten it up and flap it down. Then on the wall, you're going to have some different controls. You're going to have your auto generator starting system. So that you're going to enable that if you want your generator to automatically kick in once these house batteries drop below a certain voltage. You got your little inverter on-off switch, so that's going to be how you engage your inverter. Then you got your outside light switch as well as that awning LED light switch. Battery disconnect. Store is obviously with them disconnected from the unit. Use is connecting them to the unit. Step light switch. And then of course you got your awning control. Pushing that out button is going to allow that awning to roll its way out. And once it is at its full extension, you're going to see the back of the metal tubing all flapping down. Unfortunately today, we're not going to be able to get the awning all the way out. We'll be able to get it out enough so it should show you a couple more features. Keeping in mind, whenever you roll this out, you're going to want to keep an eye on the wind speeds whenever they do start picking up. You're going to want to make sure that you bring that awning in. That way you're not going to run the risk of bending anything or ripping your fabric. Now if it were to start raining, you can take any arm, front or rear pull down at the center. It's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to now run off. Now if you like that angle better because it's going to allow for more shade underneath, you can do the same thing with the front arm. Just making sure you do push both these arms back to straight before you try running that awning in. That way you don't run the risk of bending anything. And to bring it in, it's just as simple as holding up on the button. The awning will start slowly rolling its way in. And once the arms contact the side of the trailer, the motor will automatically cut out. Now, if you had to roll this awning in while it was wet, it's not the end of the world, but at your next earliest convenience, you're going to want to remember to roll that back out. That way you can allow it time to dry off because you don't want to accelerate the growth of mold or mildew inside of there. And you see that awning coming in, and once those arms do contact the side, they automatically just cut out. Taking a step on inside. Light switch. You got two light switches here. One's going to do this little accent light right by the couch. The other one is going to do the rest of the main living space. Up on the wall here, this is your main operation center. Now, before you run that slide out, you're going to want to turn on, which you have to have the key in the on position. You're going to have the key in the accessory position, parking brake engaged. Push the power on off button. It's going to say jacks up ready. If you want to automatically level the unit, you hit auto level. The jacks will start making their way down to the ground. It's going to automatically level the unit for you. There's nothing you need to do once it's done. You do have to not move in the unit. Once it's done, it'll say level, blah, blah, blah. And you can run your slide out and get everything going. To retract them, you just hit retract. It'll allow you to retract them. If you scroll with the menu, you do have a bunch of different options you can play with. It's going to tell you a bunch of different things, and then you can also go into a manual level mode, because sometimes if you get to a campsite that's really, really off level, it's going to be having the wheels completely off the ground, trying to make this level. You don't want that. You don't want this to be lifting the unit to the point where the wheels are off the ground. You do always want the wheels in contact with the ground whenever you are using this system. Power button to turn that all back off, and now I'm going to kill the key in the ignition. And the reason being for that is, if you have the key in the ignition at any time, it's not going to allow you to run your slide out or your awning, just as a safety feature, so you can't do it while you're driving accidentally. Get the slide out. Push and hold that extend button. The slide out's going to start making its way out. Now, before you ever run the slide out, you're always going to want to make sure that you do give it an overall check, front, outside and inside. The reason I say inside is you're going to want to get a visual check, make sure that nothing shifted during travel. It's going to get caught in between the slide out and the wall. And then, of course, just on the outside, making sure you do have enough room to make sure that slide does clear all the way once it's going out. It's always good to be visual whenever you're running it, making sure that it's all going out evenly. Once you hear the motors cut out like so, if you want to be extra cautious, you can just run your hand behind the slide out. You want to make sure that you can feel that wall, the slide out sealed up against the wall. That way you're sealing out water. Now you got your generator start stop switch. That works pretty simple. You got to hold the stops button for about 10 seconds. Now that's priming the carburetor with fuel on that generator. Once you're done priming, give it a second, allow it to reset, and then you can hit the start button, and you can see it does fire up right away. Little extra note that I'm going to apply with this generator is as much like a lawnmower. It's a small engine, so technically it should be ran on premium fuel. Now, of course, That's just not realistic with a unit of this size. It would cost far too much to run this on premium. So my recommendation is to be given a splash of fuel stabilizer every time you fill up. And in addition, once a month, just come and run up your generator without the unit being plugged in, run it up, fire up your air conditioner or another high power demanding device for about 5 to 10 minutes. That's just to keep fuel flowing through there, keep it all loose and moving. The worst things for these things is for them to sit. So again, just once a month, just starting it up, letting it run up and get to temperature. That way you're keeping things moving. You got a couple tank heaters. That's just for extended camping season. Now, Manitoba winters get much too cold. Just keep in mind, if you are camping below -0, you run the risk of things freezing. That's unfortunately just the way it is. In addition to that, up top you got your monitor panel system. Pushing the button tells you the corresponding level. Pretty self-explanatory. Water pump switch, turning that on, that's what draws out of your fresh tank. And then you got your water heater option. You can either fire it on LP or gas. If you do fire it up on LP, water heater is going to try lighting itself 3 times. If on the 3rd try it doesn't light, this pilot out switch light is going to come off. So at that point you have to turn that off. Try giving it about 1 minute to 2 minutes to sit, allowing it to reset, because this unit, when you turn off the propane, it allows air into the system. Once air makes its way into the system, it does have to be purged out. I'm going to go over purging once we get to the stove. But before you ever try to fire up your water heater or your furnace, always making sure you purge through the stove first, and I'll go over that once we get there. The other options, you can fire it on 110. That's electric heat. Always making sure that your fresh tank is full before you turn on the electric heat. The only reason I'm saying that is it only takes a few seconds for that probe to be out of water for it to heat up and burn itself out if there's no water in the tank, and that's about $100 to $200 to replace. It's not something you're going to want to be doing all the time. So again, just being mindful and safe whenever you're trying to fire that up. Last but not least, you got your thermostat on the wall. Obviously you got your temper selection up top. Fan control down below. Whenever you have it in the on section, the fan on the air conditioner is going to run full time regardless of the temperature. If you have it on auto, it means it's an on-demand system. So if it's currently 70 degrees in here and I turn it down to 65, once the thermostat senses the room's at 65 degrees, it's going to kill that air conditioner and leave it off. Especially goes for the furnace. If you go to fire up the furnace, you have to make sure you have it in the auto fan setting, otherwise it's going to kick in the air conditioner and the furnace at the same time, and you're not really doing much at that point. So just making sure you do have that in the auto section so you can turn off that air conditioner when the furnace doesn't come on. And then last but not least, just over to the cool section. That does work pretty slick, pretty self-explanatory. We're just going to leave that on for a few seconds. It's a pretty hot day here in Manitoba while we're inside, so it's not getting too hot. Storage all around. Now whenever you're using the storage in any part of this unit, you're always going to want to be making sure you're mindful of drains, water lines, and wiring. You're not going to be wanting to affect any of that. Keeping it nice and neat, not running it into anything, causing yourself any problems. All the blinds in the unit are going to work the same way. They're just going to kind of sit and leave them, and one quick pull will allow them to retract back up. So let's say you have some guests additional to what can fit in your bed. Come to your couch, you just have to lift up on the rod, pull down on the rod, sorry, then you can lift up at the foot of your couch and fold that couch down towards you. Now in addition, because this is a motorhome, obviously you think you can see a lot of people. Now that could be false. You are limited to the number of people legally to the number of seatbelts. So if you lift up this couch, you're going to notice down below you have all your seatbelts around below there. There's an additional 2 here, and I believe there's an additional 2 at the dinette. You would just have to pull them up and through, but if there's only 2 of you, I wouldn't necessarily worry about it. You can just leave them down in there and just have them there ready there for when you do need to pull them up when you have more passengers. Up front, you get your standard Ford chassis, not much I'm going to show you there. And then up front above me here, you're going to have tons of storage space. I open this up, there's tons. You can do whatever, you put whatever you think you need inside of there. Pulling up on the TV and towards you, again, you get even more storage back there. All that set up. Up top, you got this little vent lid. You can open up that guy just counterclockwise, opening it up all the way. You already have a vent lid on there, so that's not even something you need to worry about. And then closing it all the way this way clockwise. Fan controls are in that bottom right corner. 4 different settings. The fourth setting is obviously going to be the fastest setting. The first setting is going to be the slowest setting. Then you get your dinette area, seating area. So you currently have it set up in a seating area for eating. You can also fold this down into a bed as well. You're just having to come below the table. You got the same sort of style rod that your couch had. Pull it down, lift up on the table, lift up on the table, kind of pull it towards you at the same time, allowing it to come down. You have to move these cushions out of the way, and then that table will just sit on the ledges down below, and then you can take your back cushions, fill in the center, and you have yourself another bed. And then to pull it up, you're just pulling that all the way up. Make sure that your rod is latched into place. That way it doesn't fold down on you whenever you're moving or whatever. We'll put stuff on here, and it's back into a seating area. Now coming over here, you got your fridge. Noticing this travel lock here, it's very important you use that. If you don't use that while traveling, there's a chance these fridge doors can open up and just cause a yard sale with all your refrigerated goods. Probably going to cause some frustration, so again, just trying to remember to latch that up whenever you're moving. Fridge freezer combo, you do have an ice maker with this fridge. If you do decide to end up using it, just keep it in mind, it's an extra thing that you do have to winterize, so make sure you winterize that when it does come time. Otherwise, you can have some lines crack and it's going to cause leaks. Down below, you got your temperature control. Pretty self-explanatory. All the way to the left is off, all the way to the right is going to be its coldest temperature. An extra note for the refrigerator. Let's say you're leaving the unit for a while, so you've had the fridge running for a few days. Now you're turning it off because you're done using your unit. It's always a good idea to allow this time, adequate time, with the doors open, to allow itself to cool down. And once it's kind of come more to room temperature, you're going to notice a ton of condensation that does build up inside of them. Now it's going to be a good idea with a cloth to come and wipe it out. That way, again, you're not accelerating the growth of mold and mildew. It's just another thing to keep that fridge a little bit tidier. Into the kitchen area, it's pretty much your standard kitchen area. And additional to the fact that if you come over here, you're going to notice you get access to the back of your water heater. It's those bypass valves for winterization. It's going to be where you get access to that. Storage all throughout. Over here, you got this little thing here. If you pull up on it, gives you a couple extra plugs in case you have to plug in coffee, make your air fryer, which is a hot commodity nowadays, or anything else. That's how you could do that for the kitchen top. You got your little Whirlpool microwave, pretty much just like home, and then you do have the range hood and fan built into this. Now I always recommend running that range hood whenever you are running your stove, that way you're evacuating those propane fumes. And since we are chatting about propane fumes, you got your LP detector. Just locate it quickly. Somewhere around here, sorry about that. I should know where it is already and I somehow forgot. You got your LP detector right here in your little dinette area. If that guy ever starts going off, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply propane at the side of the unit. Open up some windows and vents to get some fresh oxygen inside of here, and everything will be all good. Now, we went over some purging when it came time to firing up that water heater. Now, the reason I'm telling you to come do it through your stove is you get to choose how long you leave the gas valve open for and how many times you spark it. The water heater or the furnace, they'll only try lighting themselves a couple times before they throw a fault code at you when they don't sense a flame. And if you don't know what the fault code means, it can throw some frustration into your weekend, which we do want to try to avoid. We want to keep the good times rolling. So that's why I always recommend firing up your stove first thing. It's just that sure shot way to make sure that you have that propane running through there already. So whenever you go to fire up anything else, it's just quick and easy. Now, whenever you're running this gas valve, it's very important that you're very safe about it. Whenever you're running this on, because it's propane, making sure you're hitting that sparker every few seconds. Failure to do so is going to allow a buildup of gas and a minor combustion when you do hit the sparker. And if you had your face close by, you're probably going to lose some eyebrows and eyelashes. And that doesn't sound like fun. And again, it's probably going to cause some frustration. So again, just being safe whenever you are doing it. If you're operating the gas valve, just hitting the sparker every few seconds, just to keep things flowing, right? Once everything's lit, you don't have to keep hitting it, obviously. Hopefully you get the point. And when it comes time to lighting the stove, of course, it's the same thing. Pushing it over the pilot option, push and hold the knob in, looking down below. Now the stove can take exceptionally longer than the oven can take exceptionally longer than the stove, just because the gas orifice is so small. With the oven, you do have to hold the lighter over here by that gas orifice. And once the pilot's lit, then you can turn it up to your desired temperature and it fires right on up. Of course, today it fired up pretty quickly, as you could tell. Sometimes it can take a few minutes, so just be patient with it. If it doesn't happen right away, especially because it's been off for a while, don't panic. Just keep on running that sparker and eventually it should light, as long as you do have propane inside the unit, of course. That's going to be it inside that area here. Again, range hood, you're always going to want to run that whenever you're running your stove. And then you get this whole rest of this back bedroom wall area is all storage space for clothing or whatever else you'd like to put in there. On the wall here, if you open up this is where you get access to your bathroom. Light switch is just up top, and it's going to be on the wall here. Turns on the light inside the bathroom. Pretty standard bathroom. You have your main GFI plug on the wall. You got test on the bottom, reset in the middle. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, 90% of the outlets are hooked up to your GFI system, so just make sure that this isn't tripped. Hitting that reset button, that yellow light's on, it's probably tripped. Turn that switch off. Now, taking a step on into the bedroom. The switch is going to be on the left. Pretty standard bedroom. Fire exit on that back wall. Just lift that handle, push out on the window. The window will fold out of place. That'll allow you to hop out. Now, of course, if there's a fire, you're going to want to be trying to get out of here as quick as possible. But always try to go feet first, as it's the safest option. Head first isn't the best option, but if there's a fire, do what you have to do. On the wall, it's going to be the stereo system for this unit. Power button in the far left to turn it on. Turn that down. Turn that volume down. Pretty much your standard stereo. You just have A and B speakers. A is inside, B is outside. You can choose which ones you turn on and which ones you turn off. You can also hook up Bluetooth. You have an auxiliary inlet, all that good stuff. Now that is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.